Hey guys, it's Mrs. Lamphere, and in this video we're going to be working on the Citations assignment from Unit 3, Section 2, Part C. So for this Citations assignment, you've read in the previous parts of this section about how to properly cite your sources, and particularly images. And because we can't just cite Google Images anymore. I know several of you guys did that on your previous assignments, but now we're learning how to cite appropriately, and we're going to be applying that to this assignment. So first thing you're going to want to do is pick a topic that interests you, school appropriate, of course. Do a search in your favorite search engine, find 4 photos that go with your topic, save these images in your Unit 3 images folder, resize them as needed. Alright, so we're going to be creating a new web page, and we need to give it a theme or a topic. I'm going to go with kind of a dessert bakery, because if I could start any business I wanted to, I would open my own bakery, and we would strictly sell cupcakes. And so I'm going to find some images of cupcakes that I want to include on my web page. These ones look pretty good. So like you did before in your colors assignment, you're going to find the image, right-click, save, find the correct, we need to be in Unit 3, we need to have a new images folder. I'm going to save this, I'm going to call this, Colorful Cupcakes. I'm going to save that inside. Notice I don't have a space, I'm using an underscore because we can't have a space in our image names. So I save that in my images folder. And the next thing I need to do is to make sure that I save the appropriate information so that I can cite this source later. So if I go to the link where this image kind of originated, so go ahead and click, like I just did, I clicked on the link in order to access this image, or you can probably go to visit page. And this kind of gives me some information on the image that I'm using. So Kimberly Snyder's webpage, and I'm going to actually copy down some of this information. I'm going to create a Word document and copy this information down. So like you read in Part B of your text, the information we need to include, we need to find the author, the date last updated, the title, retrieve date, title of the website, and then the web address of the image. So we need to find as much information as we can about this image. So I'm going to assume that it comes from Kimberly Snyder. So again, let me get my Word document back open. First I'm going to copy. This is for my colorful cupcake image. Here's the link, and this was on, my author is Kimberly Snyder. This looks like it's a blog of Kimberly's called Realize Yourself. We put the title of her blog. And let's see, what else do we need for information? I need to try and find a date, and the date that I retrieved it, and then just my links. So let's see if there's a date that this blog was posted. A lot of times they have them up at the top, written by Kimberly Snyder. So I don't really see an area where the website itself was posted, but if I can kind of get some information by going clear back. The first kind of comment on this post was clear back in May 2013, so I'm going to assume that this website was, or this article was put up with this picture sometime in May 2013. and then retrieved it on 4/22/2014. Okay, so that's kind of the information that I'm going to need later on when I go to put together my citation. So make sure you have a Google or a Word document. I'm going to go ahead and save this right inside my web design folder. Portfolio, I said Unit 3, images. I'm going to go ahead and save it inside my images folder, and I'm going to call this Image Citations. There we go. So now I got that one image down. I still need to find 3 more images for this assignment. So instead of making you sit here and watch me do that 3 more times, go ahead and do this on your own. Find your image. Don't forget to save the source of your image, and because we're going to need that information for the next part of this assignment. Okay, so I have my images saved in my Portfolio Unit 3 Images folder, and I also have all my citations saved. So you'll notice a couple of these I couldn't find an author, or I couldn't find a posted date, but try to get as much information as you can. Because again, we're going to use that later when we cite these sources. So real quick, I'll show you how to resize one of these images. I already sized that one, so let's do this one. So if I double click, and again, your computer might be different. You might have a different photo editing program that you use, and that's perfectly fine. Mine kind of defaults to Windows Photo Gallery, which looks like this. So inside Windows Photo Gallery, which if you have a Windows machine, this is on your computer somewhere. If you want to search it, you can search in the Start program for Windows Photo Gallery, and you can open up these images in there. So if I open up this image, I can crop it to make it perfectly square. And then I can also, under Properties, Resize, I can say, and I already did this on my previous image, but I can set that to 300 pixels, and that will resize then my image and save it for me. So go ahead and do that to the rest of your images, and then the next step will be to put these in a website. Okay, so I have my images resized. I have the information for citation. Now I need to make a table with 2 columns and 3 rows, add borders, background colors, etc. to make the table look nice. So what I'm going to do to help me get started with this web page is go back to the announcements where I have this general code posted. And so again, I posted this general code for you a while ago in order to help you with getting started on some of these website assignments. I'm going to copy that code, get a new notepad, and paste it in. Okay, so I have my code in my notepad, and I'm going to go ahead and save this as, and I didn't see in the instructions anything specific that we are supposed to save this as. So I'm going to go in my portfolio. I know I'm supposed to save it in Unit 3, and I'm going to be using this images folder. So I'm going to go ahead and name this citations.html. Okay, so now I need to make some changes to this code in order to get a table in there. And since I know I made a table in a previous assignment, I'm going to go ahead and open that code up in order to help me with getting started and formatting this table. So you can see with this, the table from our previous assignment, here's kind of the code to get you started with table rows, table cells, and so on. So our instructions tell us make a table with 2 columns and 3 rows. So let's open that back up. There's my tables notepad. Here's my citations notepad. So I need a table with 2 columns, 3 rows. So I'm going to include, I know this is 1 row, this is 2 rows, this is 3 rows. I'm going to copy that and paste that under the body of my citations page. So here's my information for my table. So I know I'm going to need, my instructions say 2 columns, 3 rows. So right now I have 3 rows. Here's 1 row, here's my 2nd row, here's my 3rd row. And so now I want to eliminate some of these column cells. So I only want 2 columns. So I'm going to delete that column in that row, delete these columns in this row. Just need to delete one in this row. So now I have 2 rows set up to go in or 2 columns set up to go per row. And while I'm in here, I'm actually going to go ahead and delete out all of this extra stuff that's currently in there because I don't want to get confused in what I have in there and what I need in there. So I'm going to, like I said, delete this stuff so that I have kind of a clean slate to work with. Okay, so the next information I might want to copy over from my tables code would be some of these table background styles. I know, let's see what our instructions say. We're going to add borders, background colors, etc. to make the table look nice. So thinking ahead, I'm probably going to want a background color for my page and then one overall background color for my table. So I'm going to copy this style code. Let's see. Actually, I'll just copy this first style code because I don't want that border around my table just yet. I'm going to copy this first style code, table background blue, and apply it to my styles. So I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to put it above this title text style right there. So here's my first table background, and I'm not sure if I want to have it blue yet, so I'm going to just delete that for now. And so I have the background color for my web page up here that I still need to change that color. I have the color for the table background style, and then I'll get to all these fonts and stuff once we get to that part of the assignment. Okay, so the instructions tell me to do a column span for the top 2 cells and put your title in this cell. So let's go back to my citations code, and I need to do a column span. So if I look back to my code for my tables assignment, I can find the column span code that I need in order to make a column span. So I'm going to actually copy that and paste that into my first cell of my first row. Make sure there's a space in between, col span equals, and then my instructions said I need to span these 2 columns of my first row. And then my instructions tell me that this is where I'm going to put the title of my page here. So I'm going to call this page Cupcakes with an exclamation mark. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. Go back into our folder. So I should be in Unit 3, Citations. Open it up and see what we get. Okay, so this is what I'm looking like right now. So we're getting started. I'm going to go ahead and just put some kind of filler information, though, into this code so I can get a better idea of where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say this is going to be image 1. We're going to put our images in the rest of these cells. So I just want to kind of see and make sure that the layout of my table is correct. And if I don't have anything in those cells at all, it's not going to show me anything. So let's save that again and reopen it. All right, so that shows me a little better idea of where I'm at. I have my title of my table in this first column span row up here. Then I have a cell in my table for each of my images. Next thing is I know I'm going to want to center that table. So if I pull that code back up, I can add in, let's see, for table, I have the height and width set. We'll go ahead and leave that for now, 500 pixels and 170. Actually, let's delete this height because that's not going to fit our images. So delete code for the height. Let's leave it at width 500 pixels and see where that gets us. And let's make this centered. Let's go ahead and add a centered tag after our body. See if that worked. Gotta go back in here. Okay, so I have my table centered. Okay, the next thing, I know I'm not going to want all of this text up here, and I actually want this text where my citations is going to go. I want that to show up under my table. So let's go back to our citations notepad, and I'm going to go ahead, we don't need all of this title text, paragraph, any of that stuff, but I do need my citation text. And in order to make that under my table, I need to tell my web page when I want my table to end. So I want my table to end here, and then I want this citation to come through. So I added this close tag at the end of our table, file save, and open that back up. And there we go, we have our citations, at least the text is ready underneath our table for our citation. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and put in my images. And that will kind of help me determine what colors then I want to make the rest of the web page. So I can't remember off the top of my head the code for inserting images. So I'm actually going to go back into my portfolio, especially inserting images into a table. So I'm going to open up my, and I can't remember if this is, let's see which one I'm opening here. Oh, here we go. So this is my portfolio structure assignment. And so I know in this notepad, I added some images inside a table. So I'm going to go ahead and find out where that code is to put an image inside a table. And here we go. Ooh, this looks actually like all the code that I want for my one row. This has, in this cell, we have a column span of 2. It's aligned center, and then it has a link to an image. So I'm actually going to copy that entire line of code. And again, this is from our portfolio structure assignment. So really, any assignment that you've done, created a table and inserted an image, you can go and find that code and copy and paste that in. So we're not having to reinvent the wheel here. All right, so where this first image is, I'm going to replace that code with what I copied. And turns out I don't need to span 2 columns with this image, but I do want it to be centered. And now I need to go inside my images folder and figure out which image I want to put here. So I'm going to start with this colorful cupcakes image. So I'm telling my computer inside my images folder, you're going to grab the colorful underscore cupcakes, and I believe it's a JPEG. Yep. So I need to change my extension to JPG. All right, let's save that and check it out. Good, so I can see my first image coming through there. And one thing my instructions told me is to make sure that that image size is 300 pixels by 300 pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and type that into my code here. So, oh, and I also want to add an alt tag that I learned from that colors assignment. So I want my alt tag to equal, let's call this, I'll just stick with the name of the file, colorful cupcakes, and that with a quotation mark. And I want the width to equal 300 and my semicolon, and then height to equal 300 as well. Okay, let's try that out and see how that looks. Okay, cool. So it actually looks exactly the same if before I sized it. So that means that I sized it appropriately in the first place. So if you were able to size your images in your photo editing program, then you might not need to do this width 300, height 300. But if you weren't able to make them perfectly square in your image program, then you might want to put in that width and height to make sure that they fit in your table. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to copy all of this and paste it into the next cell to add in the next image. So my next image is called Monster Cupcakes. So I need to change name of my image there. I'm going to change the alt tag to monster. I'll save. Check it out. And boom, there's our next image. So continue to copy and paste your image code in order to get the rest of your images in place. All right, so I have all of my. Okay, the next thing I think I'll do is adjust this cupcake's title. So we could go in and do some font and type it in and make it kind of bland. Or if you remember back in Unit 2, Section 5, Part B, we learned how to use this cool text or flamingtext.com websites. So I'm actually going to create a fun kind of logo for my website in here. Let's call this Cupcakes. See what that looks like. Cool. Good enough. We'll make it 70, sure. Let's create logo. And actually, go back. Background color white. I actually want that to be transparent, so I might have to find a different font. Okay, so since that last logo didn't allow me to have a transparent background, I'm switching to this logo design because this one I see it lets me save it as a ping or a GIF with transparency in the background. So I'm going to go with this one, and I'm going to replace princess with cupcakes. See what that looks like. Cool. All right, I'll keep everything else the same. Create logo. Download image, and let's save it. Go back to my folder here in my images. I want to drag this into my images folder. Get you back in the screen there. Rename this. I'm going to call this Cupcake Logo. And so now I want to insert that image into my code. So as you can see, I have lots of notepads open here because I've been just copy and pasting text that I know I've done in previous assignments. But always make sure that you're going back and you're working in the correct notepad. All right, so here's where I have my cupcakes title, but now I want to add in that new image source. So I'm going to go ahead and copy. I don't want that height and width and stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this part and paste it in here. And this time I want to grab my cupcake underscore logo, and it's not a JPEG, I think it's a ping. If we mouse over this, yep, this tells me it's a ping image. So I need to change my file extension to PNG. And my alt tag, we can just call this cupcakes. Okay, and I want that to be centered. So I want to make sure that I add in this div align center code. Try that in there. All right. Let's see what all of this looks like. Cool! Got my cupcakes logo and my cupcake images. So now a couple things I have left to do is to add a background color to my table and add a background color to my entire page here. So back to work inside our notepad. And this is where we can kind of go through and get rid of what we don't need in our code. So since I don't have title text, I don't need that style. I don't have paragraph, I don't need that style. I do have some citation text, so I'm going to leave that there for now and probably make some changes to it. I need to choose a background color because my default is white. So I need to go back and I remember in, I believe it was, which assignment was it where they had a link to all those different color codes? Not that one. Okay, so back in your colors assignment, actually, I like this color chart that they provide you in that assignment. And I'm going to go ahead, and I have a lot of tabs open up here, so I'm going to go ahead and close up some of these. That's my latest update, so I'm going to leave that one open. Okay, so now I need to choose some colors to apply to my background. Let's see, I'm thinking with the color of cupcakes, kind of want something pink for the background and yellow for my table. So scroll through, kind of like deep pink one. Scroll through your table, find the color that you want for, again, I'm going to use this for my web page background. So I want the entire background to be this pink color. If you get some extra spaces that get in there, make sure you delete those because I don't want to throw off my code. And then for my table background color, I'm thinking kind of a pale yellow. Let's see, lemon chiffon. Okay, I'm going to go with this lemon or light goldenrod one. So copy that and my table background color, paste it there. Okay, file, save. Let's check it out. Okay, so you see it took my hot pink for my page background, and you'll notice the table background didn't take, and here's why. Because I named this table, this was already previously named table background 1, and if you look at the color or the style that we're applying to our table, we only have table 1 being, that's the name of the style, and we don't have a table 1 style, so it doesn't recognize this because I didn't type it exactly as my title, exactly as the style is named. So if I add a BG in there, let's try that. That should make it work just right. All right, there we go. So I have the yellow added to my background. Another thing I'm going to take out is those, I don't want a border, or don't want any border showing up on my table. So let's see what difference that makes. There, very nice. So I have my colors laid out, my pictures inserted, a title. So the only thing left is to add in my citations. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is get those citations in there. So I'm a big user of easybib.com because they do a lot of the work for me. So I have my document with my citations ready to go, and I also have this easybib.com open. What I can do is highlight the link of the website that I want to cite, copy it, paste it in EasyBib, click the Cite It button, and EasyBib will generate as much information as it can. So it kind of shows us what they were able to find. If we click on the link that says Continue to Final Step, that will allow me to add in the information that I have that the website wasn't able to find. So under Author, I was able to generate the author. It's Kimberly Snyder, so I can add that information in there. And publisher, I didn't have any publisher information. Display URL, yes, I want the link to your image. Electronically published, we chose May 2013. And we have our date accessed, so we can create citation. And voila! There is our properly cited image. So we can just highlight that, copy it, go back to our citation notepad, and I'm going to highlight the text that says this is where your citations would go, and I'm going to paste that first citation in there. So you'll notice it loses its formatting, but that's okay. We at least have the correct information in there. And then I'm going to add a line break with this code. And that, if you've watched my videos before, I've shown you this before. This adds in a line break between citations. And actually, I'll take out that second one because I just want it on each line. So I'll do one more for you in this video. Again, I have I copy my web link, paste it into the easybib.com, They put as much information together for me as they can. Continue to final step. I add in the additional information that I know, and I know that this is spelled a little differently than what they have here. I'm going to make those adjustments. Okay. Carp season author, I found her first name was Liz. I couldn't find her last name. Publisher, didn't have one. Electronically published on, don't know the date, but it was in October 2013. Create citation. And there it is. So I'm going to copy this, and again, go back to my notepad and paste it on the next line. All right, so let's save this and see what our citations are looking like so far. Scroll down, and you can see my citations. It looks like, oh yeah, here's my first one, here's my second one. I don't want these centered, just a personal preference. So I'm going to go back into my citation here, and all right, so I was like, what? Where's the center tag? So by entering the center tag up here, this tells the web page that it's going to center the entire body of this web page. I don't want it applied to everything in the web page. Well, let's see what it looks like not centered. So instead, I'm going to just add it. I want my web page centered. Let's see what this does. Okay, so my table's still centered, and then I have my citations over here. I think I like that better. That's kind of a personal preference for you. So you can either keep your citations centered, or you can move them off to the side like I have here. So that is how you keep putting in your citations. I'll pause this while I put in the rest of mine, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, so I have the rest of my citations put in here. Let's go ahead and save that and open it back up and see how that looks. Yay, they're all coming through. Except I'm noticing that you don't see the actual link. And why is this not scrolling? Here we go. It doesn't show you the actual link to these pictures. So let's go back and see what's going on in our code. Oh, okay, so when we generated the citation, it automatically put these tags around it. Let's take out those tags from around our code, and I bet that gets it to show up. Okay, now save it. I actually want it to open on this one. There we go. All right, so now I have, someone could highlight, copy, and paste this into the web browser with that link. So by taking off the tags, that told our web page that this is just text that we want to show. It's not an actual link that we want it to go to. So by taking out those tags, we're able to get it to show up in our citation. And so that should be it. Let's double check our instructions to make sure we have everything we need. Pick a topic that interests you, or it's cupcakes. We did our search, we found 4 photos. We got our images saved in our Unit 3 folder. We resized the images so that they were no wider than 300 pixels. Copied the addresses. We got our citations done. We had a table with 2 columns and 3 rows. I didn't want a border because I didn't like the looks of it. So if you want to add a different border, you can. Apply those background styles. Do the column span for the top 2 cells. Use the CSS format for the title and the other text on the page, which we did. Center the title, check. Put an image in each of the remaining cells. Put a caption under each image. I didn't do that because I don't really think that would look very nice. We did alt tags instead though, so those alt tags will count as our captions. And then type your 4 citations under the table. So we should be good to go. So now we're going to want to zip your entire Unit 3 folder. So I don't need your portfolio folder, I just need your Unit 3 folder. So right click on your Unit 3 folder, send to compressed, zipped, and you're going to submit this zipped Unit 3 folder to the Citations assignment.